Development Corporation. It is August 30th, 2023, here in wonderful Lincoln, Nebraska. On our show today, we have Will Sailors at the top, Andrew Schnorr, Jason Colber, and our special guest is Todd Mulliner, long-term employee here at NEDCO. He's an attorney, and he's in charge of a lot of processes here at NEDCO, including loan closing, which is what we're going to talk about today. As far as I know, in my really too long career here, that NEDCO is probably the only CDC in the country that has on staff an attorney who acts as a guide through the loan closing process, clear up to funding. In addition to that, Todd does all liquidations, loan collections, a number of different annual reports, and everything that is administrative related to loan closings. So I'm guessing that in the last 20 years that Todd has probably closed over $500 million worth of loans. It's $500 million. It's a great number. He's a national expert in closing these loans. So I'll have Todd talk a little bit today about what he does and what's in the pipeline. And Jason, Will, and Andrew will have some questions for him. I will note before Todd gets started that tonight in Lincoln, Nebraska, we are going to experience a world record for attendance for a college volleyball game. Is that correct? Is it a world record tonight with maybe 90,000 people? Andrew, is that right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be a world record for any women's sporting event.
Any women's sporting event here in Lincoln?
They've sold over 90,000 tickets. It's just up to see how many people show up.
Wow, 90,000. That starts in probably just a few hours here in Lincoln, Nebraska. So that's really something to be proud of. So Todd, with that, we'll turn it over to you. Todd is a little bit older than he looks. He's looking really young on camera here, but Todd, could you share with the viewers today just a little bit about what you do here at NEDCO, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Scott. I've been with NEDCO almost 20 years, been combined from my law firm and then moving to opportunity to work in-house with NEDCO in 2010. We think that gives us a huge advantage in facilitating these 504 loans that routinely have title issues that need resolved, or priority issues with equipment or personal property that need resolved, corporate issues that may come up through the course of time, environmental, just a litany of issues in 504 closings that need addressed, and having counsel here at NEDCO is a huge advantage to help our borrowers get these accomplished quickly. Closing is a big part of what I do. I assist the loan closing officer with the 504 process. Jennifer Fowler does an excellent job at administering that the 504 loan closing pipeline for us. Beyond that, I do help from time to time with various compliance that comes up. It seems to be a more and more bigger part of our job at the CDC industry as we observe oversight from various government agencies. Various administrative tasks, and oversee our servicing, help out when I can there with assumptions or subordinations or those issues that come up. NEDCO does somewhere between 35 to 60 loan closings every year, and so over the course of 18 years, that adds up to a lot, Scott.
Todd, looking back on your 20-year career here, I remember there was a day when did you close 16 loans at the same time? Was it 16 in there or 14?
I think it was 18. 18. The loan closing officer and I went to Colorado for essentially a day trip. We went to Colorado for a day trip. It was technically an overnight, but yes, we closed 18 loans in Golden, Colorado. In one day.
Wow. Will, you have a question for Todd?
Todd, when in the loan closing process, sometimes during the application, we don't get to the environmental And I know you've worked a lot on the loan closing process. When we go to close the loan, that can be a closing conditions requirement, somebody getting their environmental approved at that time. What's one of the easiest things or missteps, things to be aware of about environmental, and what makes it easier for borrowers to move forward during that closing process with environmentals?
Yeah. Yeah, environmentals are one of the two or three items that I always tell you guys on the application side and our banking partners. If you have it and can get it approved at the application stage, do that. It just it's better addressing it there and resolving it there, because generally in almost every case we can get it resolved. It just takes time and effort to do it. And we're better off doing that at application if we can. So think about, you know, what the current use of that with the facility you're buying. Maybe it's for the same use as your borrower intends to use it. Maybe it's got a prior use. And think about whether that could create some environmentally sensitive. Talk to us, talk to Will, Jason, Andrew. They know what the environmentally sensitive areas are that are going to require a heightened investigation, environmental investigation, and they can walk you through that. But get that investigation, whatever it is, earlier in the process than later. And let's see that through to completion on the application side. Let's say the same thing about the appraisal, you know, broadening your inquiry just a bit there, Will. I say the same thing about the appraisal. Let's get the appraisal early. Let's get it reviewed and approved early. Generally, in almost every single instance, we can get an appraisal issue resolved, but let's do it earlier and avoid surprises for the bank or the borrower. And the last thing I'd include in that, broadening it just a bit further, that we've started doing here at NEDCO is share your title work you get. When the bank closes its financing, maybe it's got approval at that point in time from us, maybe it doesn't, but it's got title work. Share the title work with us. If you do, we'll look at it and we'll identify issues that aren't issues for the bank, but could be issues for SBA. And we will work through those early in the process rather than finding out about them later and maybe slowing you down, slowing us down, slowing the borrower down in the process. So those are the three areas, Will, you know, beyond the environmental, the other two that I'd put in that group with the environmental to accomplish early.
Interesting. Jason.
Yeah, you know, one of my favorite things after getting a loan approved is dropping it off on the closing side and being able to walk away and move on to the next one. But I know when it comes to that approval, the bank, the borrower, they're raring and ready to go to sign on the dotted line and buy their building or start their construction project. But one of the questions that often comes up is how should the bank structure those interim notes? Sometimes they want to start P&I payments. Should they do one? Should they do two? What's the best recommendation in your expertise for how to structure those interim notes?
Yeah. Yeah, you know, like we usually tell people, we start off like we can make lots of variations work in terms of your loan structure. We can make a lot of them work. But if you're asking us what our preferred on the closing side, the best solution to your funding mechanism would be, I always encourage folks, whether it be a purchase or a construction, let's do that in a single note. Let's do that in a single promissory note that combines your permanent loan and the interim loan for that combined sum of the 90% total on a 50-40-10 split on our project. And then as we get our process finished, the closing conditions are winding up as we're getting those finished and you're ready. We're ready to close, conduct a signing with the borrower and the bank. At that point in time, let's perm out the bank's 50% participation into its own permanent loan there with an amortization and the term that satisfy the 504 criteria. Take those proceeds from that closing and apply them against that interim note that was the 90, such that it just leaves that 40% financing left that will be retired after we fund the 504 project. Secure that one note with a single deed of trust for the combined amount. I think that's the easiest way for lenders to do it. It allows us to include some more interim interest that's paid on the interim loan. It allows us to easily modify our amount on that interim loan. It allows the bank to easily modify the deed of trust up if we have cost overruns. I think it adds benefits for the bank, the borrower, and NEDCO if they structure it that way.
Very interesting. Well, you can see from Todd's information there that it's a complicated process to get these loans closed. And Todd has a great level of expertise, a national expert in the field. And quite honestly, I don't see how some CDCs are able to close loans with the efficiency that we do without having someone like him on staff. When we go back to the $500 million in loans closed, that would break down, Todd, to how many individual loans have you closed? You're just guessing in 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years, 40 loans.
You know,
Over 500,
500,
maybe 1,000, close to, yeah.
Yeah, 1,000 closed commercial loans. Be one of the only people in the United States that's ever done that. And it's a big reason why NEDCO is the largest CDC in the state of Nebraska and one of the largest in the Midwest. And we're certainly the most highest volume CDC in the United States per capita. That's for sure. Before we conclude here, Jason and Will, we've seen at NEDCO, we've seen a surge in activity lately. Could you speak to, in large loans, can you speak to a little bit of that, Jason and Will, about the manufacturing and the hotels that are coming in? Just remarkable.
Yeah, we definitely have seen an uptick in larger loans. We can go anywhere from 50,000 to 5 million just on our end itself, not the project. And we're seeing a lot on the higher end of that scale come in lately. Like you said, there's some manufacturing. SBA loves seeing manufacturing projects, but also some trucking, hotels, which even a small hotel is a large project. So yeah, good to see some money moving in the economy right now.
Another thing that's popping up recently is auto repair, mechanic shops, tire shops, things like that. Because the price of new cars are getting so high, people are opting to fix their older cars. So we happen to see a lot more auto repair shops going up because they're needing to expand because of the price of those new cars. They're up so much, people staying with the old ones, and the mechanics are needing to expand either into another location or to a bigger location. So that's something we've been seeing as well.
And then before we conclude here, let's talk about interest rates a little bit. What are we seeing recently on the debentures here at NEDCO for our viewers? Jason, can you talk, and Will, rather, can you talk about our 25-year debenture rate?
Yeah, currently the loans that funded in August, the 25-year rate is 6.5%. That's fixed for 25 years. And then the 20-year is at 6.6%, just a hair higher. The SBA will be publishing the rates for the loans funding in September coming up here soon at the beginning of the month. So we follow the 10-year treasury is what the SBA pegs off of, which has been trending down a little bit in recent days. So that's good to see, to get a little relief on these higher rates, because we are seeing the bank rate pretty high right now, some close to 10%. So pairing your loan with a 504 really helps get that blended overall rate down.
And then as we close here, another thing that Todd does is these loans are fully assumable. If you can imagine, you can get a 6.6% loan that's fully assumable with proper credit. One of the few loan instruments in the United States that has that assumability feature to it, offered through certified development companies. And Todd is in charge of doing those assumptions and has seen a couple of those here recently that were under consideration. So with that, we'll close today, August 30, 2023. Thanks for Todd for being on the show, and look forward to Todd reappearing on the podcast once a month or so. And we're planning on doing a training series on our YouTube channel. So that would include not only credit, but it would be loan closings. And with that, we'll close. And thanks for viewing, everybody, and have a very nice day from Lincoln, Nebraska.